Hey y'all, I'm Lake, and I've been a gamer for pretty much my whole life. I spent the better part of 20 years playing in World of Warcraft, and I've been passionate about health and fitness for almost that same time. For most of my life, those two things never existed in the same space, and I spent years after stopping World of Warcraft looking for something to fill that void. The community, the progression, the feeling of living in a world with endless possibilities. I tried game after game and hobby after hobby, but nothing had that spark. So instead of giving up, I decided I was going to build the game that I wanted myself. And now I'm excited to welcome you in as we explore and continue to build out the world of Elaria. For both experienced gamers and newcomers alike, I hope that this world draws you in and captures your imagination, just like the classic MMOs and RPGs of old. Except that this time, instead of just leveling up our characters, we are the characters. And the healthy decisions that we make on a week by week are what fuel our legacy. So this is Pathbound Legends. Early access is available now, and there's a link in the description. If this is something that sounds fun to you, stick around and let me show you how it works. Alright, so here we are within the homepage of the community. This is where all the magic happens. This is where you land anytime you open Pathbound Legends. So as we look here, we can see that we have community tab up top. Again, this is just a feed that has all the different posts that exist within Pathbound all in one spot. It gets a little messy. It gets a little confusing. It is sorted by top down from newest, and then we have all the important points pinned here at the top. So you can navigate here. We have our starter post here that we can go in, an introductory post here, so you can go and check out all the new people that are coming on board. So we also pin our weekly battle overviews because that gives us a better idea of what's actually happening that week and where the battles are, but we'll get into that as we go. So the main tabs we have here are, again, the community tab, which is this main feed, and then we have the classroom tab as well. So the classroom tab is where all the fun stuff is. So this is the hub of the platform, the hub of the community. So the main ones that we have up top are here at the Elaria 101. This is your go-to new person starter guide. This has all the resources you need. This is how you get into the game. And it gives you all the rules and regulations, everything that goes in. We've tried to keep Pathbound as simple as possible while also creating a complex layer of decision making each week, which is, I think, fun, but also not overly overwhelming. If this is your first time getting into any sort of video game or any sort of role-playing game or anything like that, then it's going to be a little overwhelming at first, and that's okay. However, as you go, Pathbound is designed to build layers on top of layers, so you're able to participate and have fun and do the things right from the get-go with no experience whatsoever. But as you go and as you get more and more understanding of what's going on, there's a whole, it's kind of like an onion that peels back, and there is multiple layers of complexity to keep you interested for a long time. So I think people will, once they understand what's going on, be super excited about what we're building here. So the main modules we have here are, again, the Elaria 101, which is the tutorial or intro module. It has everything in the game that you need to know about. We also have the War Room, which is our weekly battle hub. So we'll go into each of these in a second here, but the library is our lore database. So this has all the information that is produced on all the different races and classes and worlds and regions in the country, anything that is playable or non-playable, anything that just adds to the story in the world of Pathbound, it's all found here in the library. So next up, we have a basics module, which is your intro starter. When you join the community, this is what you have access to. It walks you through the basics of all the fundamentals of what I call the Forge Fit protocol, which is the protocol that will help walk you through almost encyclopedic knowledge of everything that you need to know, without all the extra stuff. So I have kind of worked through 20 years of experience, and pulled out the things that I think are important, or the things that I have seen people be successful by learning and understanding. And you don't get any of the junk, none of the garbage. So the basics module is what you have access to from a standard account. So the next 6 modules, nutrition, exercise, mindset, efficiency, adaptation, and recovery, all are the full Forge Fit protocol. And each one of those has multiple lessons within. And this is kind of given to you slowly over time, so you have time to adjust and time to adapt and make the choices that go. Each one of them comes with an action plan, or things that you can do right from the get-go in order to get you moving in the right direction, and then something to continue to build on it over time. So these are available to the premium subscription. Then you have a couple other ones that I haven't fully drafted yet, but we got some fun stuff coming down the pipe. So The calendar we use just to map seasons and weeks. Our Pathbound works in a 12-week season, so every 12 weeks things reset. But before we get into that, we'll have to kind of break down how the game actually works, or it won't make a whole lot of sense. We also have a membership and leadership, or members and leadership tabs, which just show the members that are involved and then what levels they are. Then we also have our about page, which covers what you see before you come in. So this is our hey, come join us page. So when we go back to the classroom, we'll go ahead and open up the Elaria 101 tutorial page. This is going to walk you through the introduction process where you come in and you make your character, you make your race and faction selection, and then you introduce yourself to the world. So you tell people who you are and what you are, and that does twofold. It lets you introduce so everybody gets to see an idea of their character and their name and what kind of creative things they're coming up with their character, but also it gives me the chance to put you into the database. So in order for any of you to get points each week, you need to be in the database, and I can get you in set up, and then we can track your progress over time. So I think a good place to start would be to go over just the guide of how it actually works. What do you actually get when you join Pathbound? Well, the first thing you get is you get to pick your own custom character. All right, so I think the first place to start is really the world. So Pathbound exists within a world called Elaria. And this world at the moment is broken up into 4 major regions. You have the Frostforge Mountains in the north, the Heartwood Vale in the southeast, you have the Tarok Wilds in the northeast, and then you have the Gravebloom Hollow in the southeast. So each one of these regions is controlled by a specific faction or a specific race of peoples. Over here, the blue we see here, these are the Aegis of Elaria. And then we'll get to the actual factions here in just a second, but we can see that the map is broken up. These territories over here in red are controlled by the Bloodstrand Pact, and the territories over here in purple are controlled by the Forsworn Vigil. So it's good to see just a basic idea of how we have. So this map is actually fully developed, and there's plenty more landmarks. These are just the ones that I chose to be the battlefields because I think they're the most reasonable choke points and most reasonable points that these people would fight over. So as we look through, we can see a little bit more about the regions, but we're going to leave that a little bit as a spoiler alert here, so you can come and see when you actually join in. So the next thing I want to go over real quick is just the factions. So we've got multiple different factions. We have the Aegis of Elaria. These are the defenders. These are the stalwarts. These are the what we call the naturalists. These are the peoples who believe that building your strength comes from within. So it's a matter of discipline and growth and building over time. They're made up by the 3 main factions, which are the Runebark Trollkin, the Stormhaven Humans, and the Stoneborn Dwarves. So these are a very cool faction. This is the faction that I play, but these guys are your golden boys. These are the ones that are out. We're going to do the right thing for the right reason. We're not, they're not conquerors, but they believe in tradition and just the way of the natural order. So they're going to fight to defend that. Traditionally, they have been the most powerful force, and they have built up their strength over time. So their goal is to defend what they've built and continue to carry on and continue to be this power within Elaria. So, all right. So the next up we have Forsworn Vigil, and the Forsworn Vigil are a collection of broken peoples. So this is broken up by the Valari humans, which are a sect of humans who have broken off from the traditional ways, because they believe that power is gained from a number of different sources. It's not just training every day. You're able to pull in and do kind of whatever it takes to get power. And they basically just really didn't mesh well with the Aegis. So they broke off, and now they live their own lives, rebuilding from this fallout with the Aegis and the Stormhaven humans. So joined by them are the Graverot, who are the survivors of a great catastrophe. There's more to that in the lore section, but their race, which used to be humans, has essentially just been exploded. So the Forsworn Vigil is a collection of Graverot and the Pyrotheer Ash Elves, and more is to come on each one of those specifically. But these guys are basically fighting to survive in a world that has turned its back on them. So they're very much a chip on your shoulder kind of race. So they're excited to forge this new world and build a new life together. So finally we have the Bloodstrand Pact, and these guys are super cool. These guys are the ones that have been living in the harsh territories of the north, whether it's the barren lands of Tarok or the frigid lands of Scaldrift Ridge. These guys have made life where life is hard to make. So first off, we have the Gale Tusk Orcs, and then we have the Frostmaw Ursari, and then we finish that up with the Tholdraki. So, which all super cool races. So which one's right for you? I guess we'll find out when we go through, but I think that gives you a good overview of the 3 different forces. So when we reference these, that can give you a little bit better idea of what we're talking about. So, like said before, each one of these races is represented here in the factions, so we don't need to go through those initially. There's more to come on each of those. We'll be making posts to kind of introduce each of these races independently, because there's a lot to talk about for each one of them. So once you go through this, you'll pick which one of these big factions you want to be a part of and which race you want to represent. The races or the factions are race locked, so there's no mixing and matching. You pick one and you say, okay, this is what I'm going to be. So I think once you get in there, then I think it's probably the next best step is to talk to you about what actually happens in Pathbound. So, in Pathbound, you come in and you join, you create a character. So we kind of went through the basics of that. So, you do an introduction post which lets you get into the system and lets me put you in and start letting you get points. Then you start making points, and points is the whole point of Pathbound, right? The main goal of Pathbound is to take your faction's points and capture the other faction's points until you reach the capital city and take a capital city. So the goal is, it's like a board game. So as you go through, each one of these nodes are something that you control, and each week you can only follow the path that's allotted to try to take over. So this first week we might launch an attack from Valley of Iron onto Gut Post 1. So and then once we take this, then we can take Throckmar potentially, and these square ones are the capital cities. The circles are the regular battlegrounds. So the goal is to make it twofold in and capture a point. But it looks pretty easy when you look at the map, but it's actually way more challenging than that. So each week teams pick which way they're going to attack. So the Aegis may elect to attack one spot, and then the next team gets to pick, so the Bloodstrand will get to pick next, and then the Forsworn picks next, and that rotates each week. So essentially, each team declares where they're going to attack that week, and that gives anywhere between 2 and 3 battlegrounds each week, depending on how each team decides to attack or defend. So you can defend points, you can attack points, but the goal is to go across the map and take the points. Each week, you get points for making healthy decisions throughout the week, and these are spread out across different categories. So, category 1 is eating nutrition, and I call this an 80-20. It's a little confusing because it's not exactly the 80-20 rule you might be familiar with. However, it's the best breakdown, I think. So 80% of your total intake, your food, 80% of food that you bring in has to be good food, and you have to do that for at least 5 days a week, right? So 80% of the food that you bring in has to be good food, and you get 1 point per day that you get that up to 5 points per week. So each one of these categories is capped at 5 points, making a total of 20 points that you can make each week. Now these numbers might change over time from a balance perspective, but this is where it is currently. So this is what we're going to go with. So you also get points in addition to eating well. You also get points for getting your step goal. So, your step goal is completely up to you, depending on what you might do. So, I use the example of 5,000 here. For 5,000 for me would be very easy, although 5,000 for a different person may be way too much. So you set your step goal, and then you tell us how many times you hit it over the course of that week, up to 5 times. And if you do it 5 times per week, you get 5 points. Obviously it's good to do 7, but yeah, we want to make it reasonable for people to reach these goals and get these points. So, again, self-set from a step goal standpoint, and then up to 5 points for the step goals. And then you also get points for doing strength and cardiovascular workouts, up to 5 points for each day that you do a workout. So from a strength training perspective, this can be anything from a body weight workout in your living room to going to the gym and doing a full-blown structured workout. But each day that you spend 30 minutes working on strength and building muscle, you get 1 point for each one of those. And then also the final category is cardiovascular exercise, where it's the same structure. For every day that you do at least a 20-minute workout from a cardiovascular standpoint. And again, it can be anything. It can be swimming, it can be rowing, it can be walking uphill if that gets your heart rate up enough. So, every day that you do that, you get 1 point, up to 20 points a week. So, we do have some things put into play to keep things fair and make sure that people are telling the truth. But we can get into that. You can get into that once you read in this. So once you do that, we are going to create posts for each battle that's going on. So once your team leaders pick the battles, then I will post the battles and we can see them here. So this is what that looks like. And we have a submission here where we say, hey, take this, copy and paste this, post it in a comment, and then tell me how many points you got. And I look at that and then I put that into the database. And this happens for each of the weeks. So, let's get back to Elaria, back where we were at here. So that is how it works each week. You tell me how many points you made. I put it in the data, and then we calculate all the numbers. And the teams which gets the most amount of points are the ones that win the territory. So we can see here, we're in week 2 currently of this season. And if we look at the war room, we can see that the world map has changed a little bit. So in the first week of the season, the Aegis of Elaria here, let's go ahead and pop this up here so that we can see it a little better. First week of the season, the Aegis of Elaria launched an attack from the lock onto Cladvik, which was originally Bloodstrand territory. We won that battle. We got more points that week, so we took that point. So same thing happened here with Gut Post 1, and the Bloodstrand attacked from Gut Post 1 and attacked Valaris. And a similar thing happened here where the Forsworn launched an attack from Shatterpoint onto Sunbleak Shoals. So I know you don't know anything about these battlegrounds yet. You can run through a couple of the battlegrounds here just to get an idea of what it actually looks like. But so the Bloodstrand here, they've lost a little bit of territory. So as this, now they're going to have to be defending mode because the Aegis can just attack Thuldrak now. So they may have to spend some time this week focusing on defending, but we'll see what actually happens here. But we see that the map shifts, and the goal is to take your team and push your team across the map. So that's how the actual system works. You tell us what you did, we take your points, and then we put them into the games. And then the map changes based on that. So each week we do a post that shows you what happened in the previous week. We can see here that this is what happened here. The Aegis took Cladvik, the Bloodstrand took Valaris, and the Forsworn took the Sunbleak Shoals. So we also provide leaderboards. So this is one of the main things is you can look here and you can see exactly how well you did against other people. So if anybody's familiar with Orange Theory, this is a very similar concept, right? So your name is put up on the board and you can see how you're performing against other people. So, and we'll have leaderboards for not only the individual battle themselves, but over time, over season. So you can see who scored the most points this season, that kind of thing. So I think that's really cool because even if your team is not doing well, it gives you a reason to still be active and still push yourself. And then also over time, we have achievements and titles that you can earn by doing these things over time, by winning 3 seasons or participating in a certain amount of battle can earn you a title. So I think it's really cool what we're building here. A lot of that is coming down the line, but that's where we're headed. So that's the goal, is to give you, and you, over time, you create this legacy for your character. When you get unlocked titles and that'll be displayed on the leaderboards, and we have custom art and all of that. So a lot of fun stuff coming from that perspective. So, and then the week starts all over again. So we take who won, and then the new teams are picked, and then we post all that and we do it all over again. We are going to add some bonus objectives to be able to make things a little more interesting week by week, so it's not the same, but I want that same core foundation protocol there, because if I believe that if you do those 4 things, you're going to see massive results. And the goal is ultimately to get people to a better quality of life. So in my experience, I know that quality of life is directly tied to your health, fitness, wellness. I believe that if you continue to work at your health and fitness goals, you'll feel better each day, day in and day out. You'll have a better quality of life, and that's what we're here to do. So we're here to bring community and improve people's quality of life. So we also know very well that things like step challenges are very motivating for people. So I believe that getting into Pathbound and coming and joining our community and working with people, and like, it's really fun. So currently right now, the other war chiefs are myself, my wife, and my best friend, and we enjoy fighting against each other. So it's a lot of fun trying to go through and push against each other. And I know this will work for you as well, because even in my own life, like, there are days where I don't want to go to the gym, but then I think about losing and I'm like, no, we're not losing that territory today. We're getting that territory. I'm going to the gym. I'm getting these points and I'm getting this job done. So competition and the camaraderie and all of that is built into Pathbound. And I certainly hope that you enjoy that and that you come and join us.